and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
And my name is Emily.
And we are wrapping up our Crashing season, the Phoebe Waller-Bridge 2016 ITV, BBC, Britishy, played on Netflix.
Channel 4,
that place, series, with the aptly titled Episode 6. And so last episode wrapped up with sort of all of the subplots coming to a head and basically all of them being the cliffhanger. And so now we're going to sort of wrap everything up and
no more cliffhangers. Everything is resolved at the end.
Well,
right?
We can sort of assume that, I mean, we can discuss what we think a real follow-up would be like, because I do have some thoughts, but Emily had watched ahead, so she knew everything that was going to happen, which was
that's the problem with watching a show that I like.
Charming.
Sorry.
Well, you don't have to worry about that because I picked out the next one. So
oh, good.
Yes. But yes, so we open. So when we last left things, Sam had broken up Fred and his secretly obnoxious narcissist boyfriend. Melody had just told Colin that the reason that he looks like her father, and he's just come to give her the old 1-2. What's a good?
What does that mean?
I don't know. What's a good euphemism for what euphemism do we want to use?
Give her the hot salam.
The hot salam. What does he say? Like the F? Does he actually just say effing or whatever?
I don't remember.
No, I will not F the... Anyway, she says he reminds her of her father. That was our cliffhanger. And also, so now Kate has... I don't even remember why the fuck she... Oh, she runs off.
Yes, she runs off because it's revealed that Sam and Lulu... To Anthony, that Sam and Lulu had sex. And there's kind of an argument where Anthony tells Sam, you promised you wouldn't. And Sam says something that we kind of glossed over. He says, she's not your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I think in that moment, like everything clicks together for Kate and she gets mad and she leaves. Like without conversation. It's just like.
Without conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Which will make no sense in the context of where she ends up.
Yeah.
But so the episode starts with Anthony coming into Lulu saying that Kate is gone. Kate being like, well, yes, she went to work. And Anthony being like, no, she left. And so the other thing that happens is the hospital is getting knocked down.
Right.
And it was sort of set up, last episode, that was happening that next day. This was the last night. Now, just spoilers, we're in the Dracula the series time telling where it's gonna happen.
I think at some time they say it's like, oh, this place is gonna get knocked down next week.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's not,
there's an establishing shot with like the sign that says it's gonna get torn down. I don't remember if there's a date on there or if that date would even matter because we don't know what day it currently is.
Yeah. So we've lost all track of time. We're just doing the show. So we do the credits after some sort of funny, there was some funny, like oddly funny line. And then we get back to them. They're going to go looking for Kate.
So Kate goes to two places when she's mad and trying to get away from Anthony. A Turkish place when she wants to be found, and an Italian place when she doesn't want to be found.
Right.
So Anthony knows this. He enlists Lulu to come with him to help him find her. And nonsense ensues with the two of them because they're clearly in love with each other and have been forever and will not admit it. And then
that's the way she wrote it and that's the way she plays it, but we can discuss how running into what's that poor guy's name, Damian Maloney, is sort of the weak link of the show, but we can talk about that later because first we cut to Colin and Melody talking, and this is where she's sketching him. She's moping. He's looking out the window. She's just like,
because she's moping because he won't fuck her.
to which she's like, "Ugh, I am so sad. I am French," and he's just like, "Melody, I will not f the father out of you, or f your what is it? Not Oedipal. What's Electra complex? I think it's Electra complex. I will not f the daddy issues out of you." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, you suck." And he's like, and so, God, they could just have a show together.
They could, and it would be brilliant. I love the two of them.
And this is only 8 years ago, so they could just do a follow up, and they've just been hanging out for 8 years.
Yeah.
COVID. Oh my God. Okay. So at some point, what's the deal with Sam? Who's Sam bitching to? Because we're out of character. Because he shows up at Melody's door
demanding sex.
Which is sex.
Great.
Which is great. And we almost forgot that. We cannot forget that. But who sets him off to that?
He's trying to get a hold of Fred, and Fred is not picking up. So we hear him leaving voicemails for Fred over and over and over. And so to my mind, that's the conversation. Is he's trying to get a hold of Fred and coming to his own realizations in his head about why he's obsessed with Fred. And now he wants to try to, fuck a lady to get the gay out of him.
Yeah.
And he goes pounding on Melody's door.
And so he runs off. She tells him to fuck off.
Oh,
but
then she doesn't tell him to fuck off. Oh, wow.
She considers the situation. She puts down her sketch pencil. She tells Colin to stay right there in the window, and she runs toward the door. And so she stops before she gets there. So it's just this great setup. And I think that, like, in some ways, the Melody Colin arc is the most successful of the series. Like, it's the spinoff I want. I don't want any of the other spinoff. But then we cut to, I think, Sam storming around, and then Melody chasing him down in a hot nurse's outfit, like a little, like, it's like a little
Halloween sexy nurse costume. Yeah.
Right. She, like, finds him in the bathroom, tells him they're gonna fuck, like, knocks him down.
And then do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do this? And then it gets a little dark. It's like, do you want to fuck me? Do you want to fuck me in the ass? Do you want me to suck your dick? And then it's like, do you want me to shit on your face?
It's just like, what? And she's like, what?
But at this point, she's already on top of him, and he cannot escape. And he's just like turned and just like trying to get away, squirming, and she's not actually doing anything to him except for scaring the life out of him. Because he was being so aggressive. So she's meeting that aggression level and terrifying him. And I don't even remember how that resolves, except that it's just they don't end up having sex.
She goes back into the...
Oh, she takes him back into the room and says, "You can pose with Colin."
Yes,
So what pitiful. What she has done is reduced Sam to this pathetic creature with her just gnarly sexuality, which is beautiful, but to the point where he is equated with Colin, who has been humiliated by his soon-to-be ex-wife. I love it. I love this show for humiliating men. It's so great.
But when they get into the studio, the window is empty. She runs over in a panic, and Colin is laying on the ground underneath. Now, I think at this point we had already established where Kate and Fred are. They are out to lunch at the Italian place, though we don't really get that confirmed until a little bit later. Like, it could go either way, Turkish or Italian. And they're out with Kate's friend, Jessica, who
We had met in
She's
the first episode and we'd seen her subsequently, but very
yes,
little.
very little.
And she's also there with Fred, and she had been in a previous scene that we it was really not super necessary, except she had been faking being excited about being single. Oh, it's a new chapter. Fred, aren't you excited?
Yes.
Da 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 da. And Fred is visibly not excited and is drinking heavily. He says, I think I'm going to drink myself straight.
Yes.
So when we cut to this scene, things have changed. And Fred has got his head down on the table, which in America, you'd get thrown out if you were that drunk. Um, and Kate is visibly upset. And Jessica is there, like, you guys did the right thing. You both did the right thing. She says that. But then it evolves. And she's like, you guys were never compatible to Kate. You guys were never compatible. He is sexy and mysterious and this and that and all of these things that could be construed as good qualities. And Kate's like, what are you talking about? This is a great scene too, because she asks how big his penis is. And Fred is like, what could that possibly have to do with, wait, how big is his penis? Right. Hilarious. At which point Jessica rips up a piece of paper and says, draw it life size on this piece of paper. I can guess how big it is. And they're both going to draw it. And then 3, 2, 1, they reveal an almost identical drawing of an almost identical penis. Jessica reveals that she has a special sense for these things and can guess somebody's penis size. It was hilarious. It was funny. It was great. But it does not solve the problem. And I forget even where it goes from there. She asked them both to close their eyes. And it's like, what are you thinking about? And Kate says, like, I just see black with like colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what Fred says. It's something like
Poetic.
something poetic.
And then
And
Jessica, I believe, is at that point like, well, I think you might be in love with your friend Sam, Fred, or something like that. Or he's like, you've got a
Jessica,
real heart.
no, Jessica says to Fred, like, you made the right choice. And
Oh,
says
that's
to
right.
Kate, and says to Kate, like, you kind of, no, it doesn't say anything to Kate, but Kate is kind of like, wait, does that mean I didn't make the right choice? And then we cut away from that scene. I think that's the end from there. There's another 2 scenes, I think, of them in the restaurant.
Yes. So I think we skipped the first scene of it. But it's also just them establishing, like, we never figure out how Jessica got there or why
Right.
they're there. But yeah. And so there's a whole scene about like how upset they are, but nobody actually had sex with anybody else. Like,
Oh, yes.
there's
Yes.
the
She's,
kiss, but and then there's not even that with Lulu and Anthony,
yeah.
but for Sam
Again,
and
very Shakespearean in that most of these people are not willing to talk to one another. And if there was just a simple conversation and people were willing to be honest with each other and themselves, none of this would be happening.
wouldn't add a show.
No.
So we then cut to, I think we check in on like Lulu. We don't then cut to because we've been skipping around, but
Right.
we check in on Lulu and Anthony. They've just had a lovely like snack at the Turkish place. They're having sodas or something as they walk down the street. They're just hanging out, having a great time. I assume she started casting better male co-stars because people like her and the dude in Fleabag. I'm just saying. But then he's like, "Oh shit! I think she must be at the other place. We should get over there." And then
she could be picking somebody up right now.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Lulu's just like, she's just fucking dudes right now. Including when they leave in the morning. We missed this. They're cutting through a park, which doesn't seem very likely. But I mean, it can be, but for some reason it seems like Anthony's being a bit of a dipshit and trying to take Lulu on a romantic walk. Or at least maybe it was initially written that way without the actor. But they see a couple kissing on a park bench, and Lulu's like, "Oh my god, it's Kate!" And he's like, "You fucking whore!" Or no, he calls her a slut.
A slut, yeah.
And then they walk on, and Kate's or Lulu's laughing, and she's like, "Oh, let's go find your little slut." And he's like, "Wait, what'd you say?" And she's like, "Ah." So they're just
Well,
having.
he actually storms away because he's so mad. He's like, "You're just making it worse. Go home." And then she makes a joke. Very good. You look just like your dad when you're
Oh,
angry.
that's right. And then yes,
And then she's like really hot. He's like, "Don't talk about my dad that way." And then they get into like a little tickle fight about her having a crush on his dad or something. It's very weird, but also very funny.
also
Um,
the most believable reason she would have for liking Anthony is that some weird misplaced.
I don't know. Is is this the episode where we see him with his shirt off or the one before? He's got a hot little bod. I don't know.
I mean, he's a bit of a dipshit. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
but so is she.
so is she, but that's because she has to get to his dipshittery for this plot to even work. It's very weird. Like, the series was set up with Lulu sort of as the protagonist, and we've completely lost that. But in the same time, she also hasn't actually had an arc. Like,
Yeah.
this would be her story arc is no different than if she showed up in the first episode and blank that we'll get to in a little bit. But, and that's why some of the other story arcs are so effective.
Right.
But we then get, they go to the Turkish place, or, yeah, Italian place, and we've just been inside. Fred's either going to go throw up or go to the bathroom or something. And so, Jessica's like, "Hey, Kate, maybe you're gay." Kate's like, "I'm not gay." Jessica's like, "I mean, maybe you're gay." And Kate's like, "I'm not gay." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Well, I'm going to kiss you without your consent, and we're going to find out." They, just as that happens, Anthony and Lulu are walking to the window. They see that, and
It is mistaken for a actual passionate kiss
yes,
when in fact Kate is pulling away.
um, Lulu is immediately like, "Oh my god, she's a lesbian. That explains everything." And then he's like, "You're right, it does." And she's like, "It does?" And he's like, "Yeah, it does." And she's like, "Okay." Checks the window. She sees Kate has pushed Jessica away and is saying, "No, no, no, don't want that." And then
I don't think anybody sees that but the viewer,
no,
right?
Lulu sees it. Lulu
Oh, okay.
sees it and does not tell him.
Okay.
Yeah, Lulu sees it and is like, "Nope, she's totally gay. Let's go." And he's like, "Okay, let's go." So this might be when, no, I don't know what sets Kate off to go tell Anthony that she loves him.
So what sets it off is that there's another conversation in the restaurant
Yeah.
between her and Jessica and Fred. And somehow they get on the conversation like, you know what they say if you love somebody. And then simultaneously, I think Kate and Jessica, or maybe it's Fred and Jessica, Fred says, "Set them free." And Jessica says, like, "Hold on to them as tight as you can." Something like that. Like they're saying the opposite things.
Oh,
And
yes,
there's
that's
like
right.
this realization. And Sam, who has been avoiding his phone, is
Or
like,
Fred, who's been avoiding Sam's calls.
excuse me. Yeah. Fred, who's been avoiding Sam's calls, is like, well, I guess it's better now than never. And then Kate gets up and runs home.
Okay.
So Sam is calling Fred from the hospital
Yes.
where Colin is in the hospital. But Sam says, "I'm in the hospital. I'm sorry I was a jerk. I'm sorry that I kissed your boyfriend. I'm in the hospital. I'm in the hospital." Or I'm in hospital. Sorry, my husband hates that phrasing. I'm in hospital. So I don't know if I can only assume he's intentionally trying to make Fred think that something happened to Sam when in fact they're there for Colin. I don't know. But before Fred gets there, we cut to Lulu and Anthony talking about Kate being a lesbian. What are we going to do now? And again, it's that similar, like, they answer at the same time, but they both say different things. One of them says fuck, and they both cling on to that idea of them fucking because that solves
Because,
everything.
yeah, well, also because it's the last episode of the show, for the
Right.
season. Hospital's going to close. Everything's going to change. We,
Yeah.
we should just fuck and do that too, because that's the last thing, we need to do. So we might as well just do it. So they run off to do that. We see Kate running in the distance another way. We then cut to Colin in his hospital room. His wife has shown up. We've seen that. She asks where he is. She says, I'm the next of kin. She goes to the room where Melody is in her nurse's outfit, sees Melody in the little nurse's outfit, and is like, are you the nurse? And Melody is like, we. And the wife is
She
like,
plays along. She's like, oh, I guess that's good for morale.
yeah.
Very,
So,
very understanding of her.
yes. And so now we finally meet Colin's famous wife. And so I think we're cutting around a little bit with Fred getting to the hospital and finding out Sam's okay. But then Melody's asking the wife for some questions to help with the patient's recovery or how to treat him, because he hasn't, he's been unconscious. He's been unresponsive since the fall.
But it's all these weird personal questions.
Well, right. It's like, how much do you love Colin?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love him?
And she's like 6. And then she's like, okay, how much do you love that guy you're fucking cheating on him with? And she's just like, excuse me? And this is where we see Colin is waking up and he is giggling. And then he eventually starts laughing because Melody is just laying into the wife. And so then we get Colin waking up and being like, I didn't try to kill myself. It's a fucking condemned building. The window broke.
I fell out of your fucking window.
Yes.
And that's when the ex-wife or soon-to-be ex-wife realizes that this is not a nurse. And what are you doing in her room? Which is great.
Yes. And so
I can only imagine that Brian is not nearly as attractive as Melody. And so maybe she's a little bit jealous that Colin can get such a hot young babe.
Yes.
And
Brian
French.
is probably not 24. So, yeah. But yeah. And so there's this really sweet scene where, she's like, who is this woman to you, Colin? And Colin's, you could just say she's my Melody. Oh, so sweet. And Melody's just like, oh, that's sweet. And it's just like,
it's giving daddy-daughter vibes.
It's giving daddy-daughter vibes, right? Like, this is Colin he likes to watch. Like, that's season 3 of their spinoff. Anyway, so the wife's like, well, my Brian is waiting for me. Off they go. But as she leaves, she is like, you know what? It was actually, she's like, they have like a little bit of a moment where she's like, you're okay. This is okay. You seem to be doing okay. And then Melody gets in a final dig and off it goes. So I think that's it for them.
I think that's it for them too.
Yeah. So it's
very cute.
It's very cute. She ends up back at the hospital, but Colin's still in the hospital. So, like, he's not in the last.
She ends up in the hospital that they're living in.
Yes,
sorry to differentiate it.
Yes, not the medical, the functioning medical trauma center. Okay, so they don't do anything with that. That's very weird that they don't do anything with there being a real hospital part of the episode, and the fake hospital. It's very strange. But then Fred is arguing. Fred and Sam are talking. Fred is still super drunk. And Fred's like, Sam, you're a drama queen. And I think you're gay.
Yeah. And you're gay. Yeah.
And you're gay for me. And Sam's like, I am not
a queen.
A queen? A drama queen? And Fred's just like, man, I cannot fucking do this.
Turns around and like passes out.
Right. Just
luckily he's in a hospital, but Sam goes bonkers. My friend is dead. My friend is dead. I think I killed him, but my friend is dead. And like proving that he is indeed a drama queen hilariously.
We also need to so Sam was established as not being in touch with his emotions about his father's death.
Yeah.
In the first episode. And that became he and Fred's arc Emily's getting to watch hand signals of how this works, the narrative
Yeah.
design. But then Lachlan, or whatever the fuck that guy's name is, the boyfriend, shows up. And like Will, he's played by a game named Lachlan, I believe, or Lockie, because he's Australian. But yeah, and so that whole thing goes away. Like,
Yeah.
there might be like one mention of like
Will had mentioned it kind of.
Yeah.
In the last episode when he's like, you're obsessed with your relationship with men, the men in your life.
Yeah. But I think the episode before, he's like, I've been cutting you slack because your dad died.
Yeah.
But we haven't really tied that together with these emotions.
Yeah.
But then we cut to the old hospital. The old hospital, and the goths who actually do get lines this episode, they should have been in every single episode as R2D2 and C3PO in like a couple scenes, because they've been in the last two like that, and it's just like they were busy. Like, you couldn't find, like, you had a huge cast for the first episode, could have told two of them to stick around. To provide some continuity with this fucking living situation that you have no interest in. Like, they all live in a bottle, and they're like, we're not interested in the bottle at all.
Yeah, it's like there are 7 people, and I was just under the assumption that they were the only people living in this hospital.
But
then it's like, nope, there's literally 100 other people wandering around in the background constantly.
Yeah. And as opposed to the first episode when they were working in the background.
Yeah.
But so Kate gets there, sees the goths, is like, it's really obnoxious.
Really obnoxious, because they are of East Asian descent of some kind. And she's talking,
she's white.
Yeah, she's talking to them kind of slowly and loudly and making weird hand gestures as if they don't understand what she's saying.
It's very fucking weird.
It was very problematic, but whatever. So she tells them if Anthony shows up, tell him that she's there. Tell him I'm upstairs or whatever.
I'm here for him.
I'm
back.
Yeah. And then what does
I think we probably go back to the hospital for a second.
We go back to the hospital. We find out that Fred has had a hypoglycemic attack because of his diabetes, and he's been literally drinking all day and probably not eating a lot.
We find out he's not, because Sam is very tenderly telling him, you need to eat more. What are you doing, Fred? You're not taking care of yourself. And there was also a little thing of when Fred got mad at Sam for implying that Sam was in the hospital and that he wanted Fred to ride in like his little prince or something. Because that's going to come back in a second, because we are going to get Sam scaring off the nurse for bothering Fred, and then very tenderly like caressing his hand as Fred tries to sleep, and Sam saying, okay, we'll take care of you. Stop bothering him, lady. And then
he says Fred is kind of sleeping, and he says, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I kissed your boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And Fred's like, shut up. I just want to sleep. So Sam shuts up.
And gives him a nice little sweet smoochie.
Oh, it was so cute.
And then one of them, and then he says, I'm your little prince or something. And it's just, and Fred wakes up for the kiss. And it's just, oh, we got our ending for it.
Aww. That was so cute. It's going to end in disaster.
I mean, yes, because Sam
Poor Fred.
The episode where they meet Fred's parents. Jesus Christ. That's Meet the Parents. Okay. So, but we have to go and finish up with Lulu and Anthony, or so we think. Let's have some false endings, everyone. Okay, so they get to the old hospital. They see the goths. The goths are like, hey, man, your fucking girlfriend's looking for you.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I guess we shouldn't go fuck then. And then at the last minute, Anthony changes his mind. He's like, let's go fuck. or he like runs
He
up to the
he
bell
grabs her by the
tower.
arm. He grabs her by the arm just before she's about to walk away, and
Yeah.
they run off the opposite direction that Kate had gone.
Yes.
So,
Which
which
means
begs the
nothing to
question,
us.
which begs the question, in that one episode where Kate brings the guy, or Lulu brings the guy from the office home and fucks him, they can hear her. So where are they going? Maybe they're going to Melody's room.
No. They go to like the clock tower or something.
Oh, okay.
It makes no sense why there's sleeping things there, but somebody must have been living. It doesn't matter. And they have the sexy.
Yeah.
Cut to the next morning. Lulu wakes up.
He's
Anthony's
gone.
gone. She goes downstairs.
Nope.
But before, nope.
He comes up to her. She doesn't go downstairs. He comes up to her.
She goes someplace else. But first, does she see them? Does she like start going in? No, she doesn't spy them. I thought she did. Hold on. Let's
I
see
don't
what
think
it says.
so. I don't think so. I think he comes to her and they have a little conversation. He's like, Kate's not a lesbian. She wants to get back together. She wants to make
but
this work.
but okay, so that's after we establish them in the communal living area.
Anthony's cooking food.
Making
Yeah.
breakfast.
Everybody else is on the couch.
It's
It's
on the
cute
couch.
because Sam is like sleeping against her.
And then Fred's.
And then Fred's on the other side, and they have this cute little exchange where, what does he call Sam? He calls him something. He's like, "Don't
Isn't
call
it the
me
Little
that."
Prince or something? Or no?
I don't know. And he's like, "Don't call me that." And Fred says, "Do you want some tea, babe?" or something. And Sam gives him a like kind of a glare.
But we establish, we get some meaningful looks between Kate and Anthony. And then this is when Anthony goes trying to find Lulu, and she's in her room, I think having a cigarette, comes in to talk, and Kate's not a lesbian, so that was all a mistake. And then Lulu's just kind of like, and I mean, oh wait, we had also established the night before, that Lulu is in love with Anthony, and she's not messing around, and she's actually in love with him. So basically he is going to leave it at that he used her for sex and to feel better about himself, and he's going to get back together with Kate. And Lulu's just kind of like, wow, okay, well, that's something.
No. He asks her, "What should I do?"
That's true.
And Lulu, sort of like, again, completely hiding her emotions, is like, "Oh yeah, get back with her, obviously." And again, infuriatingly, these people cannot communicate with one another or be honest with themselves about their feelings, breaking their own hearts, essentially. Drives me crazy. So he's like, "Oh yeah, obviously that's what I'm gonna do, obviously." And he goes back downstairs. Does she follow? I don't know. I think she comes down by herself. Yeah.
And they're all like, "Hey, what's up?" And Kate's like, "Oh, hey, Lulu." And Lulu's like, "Oh, hey, Kate." And Anthony's in the kitchen. Something falls down. And
Nope. She goes to get some paracetamol for their headaches because they're all hungover in the kitchen. And they start making out, Lulu and Anthony. And then something gets knocked over.
That's the second thing that gets knocked over. First thing that gets knocked over is the shelf that Kate was fixing in the second episode.
I forgot about that. Yeah, and it's got a plant on it, and the plant drops. And they're all like, "Kate, you got to fix it. Kate, you got to fix it."
But, she can laugh about it now. She's like, "No." Yes, but in the kitchen, Anthony and Lulu make out. Something falls. Kate comes to check on them. They've already disengaged. Like, "Oh yeah, this thing fell, but here's the paracetamol. Let's go do that." And then Kate says, "Do you think I'm stupid?" And we cut to black. And so presumably they will get back together, or no, yes, Lulu and
thruple.
It'll end up being, yeah, I mean, episode 7 has, or no, it's a 6-episode series. So episode 4 would have, or 3 would have Anthony and Kate getting back together because it's just too chaotic with Lulu, which doesn't
Technically true.
really, I mean, is it though? Because like that's all a reaction to, we don't ever get a sense of what Lulu's actually like. She
I
doesn't
guess you're right.
have any character development for this whole show. Like,
Yeah.
so good finish. Some lovely things. I mean, Damian Maloney is a charisma vacuum, and it would be very interesting if he was not. I wonder if this would have taken off more if you were actually invested in the two of them, in addition to
Yeah.
finding their buffoonery so amusing.
So I read something and I could be completely wrong. It's not on Wikipedia, so I'm probably wrong, that this ran just before Fleabag started. So I'm wondering if this was not picked up for a second season because Fleabag was being so successful elsewhere. I think Fleabag was on a different network.
Did you see
Fleabag.
what she's writing now?
No.
Just got greenlit. Phoebe Waller-Bridge presents Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Oh, I did see that. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
I'm gonna watch it.
I never saw the first one.
I didn't see the. Why would what? What? Why would you have seen any of them? No, no, it's a whole new series, so it's going to start from scratch.
Oh, okay. But I've never seen it. I've never seen it. So Fleabag was on BBC Three and then BBC One was the second season. So I'm wondering if it just got canceled so because the first season was doing so well on BBC that they put everything over. The interesting thing is the charismatic Andrew Scott is not in the first season. I don't know who is. Ugh.
Calm down.
Andrew Scott. Andrew Scott. What a dream.
Down.
What a dream.
Your lady business. Yeah. So thank you for picking a good show.
You know, we needed a break. We needed a break.
We did. And so
but now we can get
spirit,
back into the muck. Oh, what have you got for us?
we're gonna do World of Giants.
All right.
We're gonna
Excellent.
do 1959. Oh God, is it gonna? I mean, the sexism's gonna be choice, but we could have some really solid racism too. So
13 episodes, 30 minutes. It was a
15.
syndicated show.
No. Oh God, for 1959, this is gonna be amazing.
Starring a bunch of people I've never heard of. Marshall Thompson. Actually, that name does sound familiar. Arthur Franz. He looks familiar. I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. Marsha Henderson. She looks familiar too, but you know, they're all old-timey actors. This is going to be amazing. It says sci-fi spy thriller.
Okay, so yes. So the concept, everyone, is that a spy, so this is 1959, so this is pre James Bond, but post, there had been some spy stuff, but we hadn't gotten to the James Bond or like Man from Uncle era yet, I don't think. We'll have to find out before next week. But he gets shrunk to a little size, so Incredible Shrinking Man, on a syndicated TV budget, being a doll-sized spy. So it's going to be terrible and wonderful and delightful. He's going to get a dollhouse to live in at some point, which means it's going to be great. Yeah. So, and it's only 13 episodes and it's only a half hour. And I feel like if this goes wrong, it won't be as intolerable as if it were an ABC show. So,
well, this is going to be amazing. I cannot wait to see it. Thank you for picking something old. I think we've been stuck in like 80s and 90s for a while. So seeing how television has progressed, and I love old time TV shows. Love them.
I was gonna make a joke that the guy's name, Dick Van Patten's in it, but I'm looking at the wiki or the IMDb page, and I just saw Gavin MacLeod's face and name. So we are going to have, oh my God, Nestor Paeva's in it. Oh, I think that's it for what I'm seeing. But we are going to have a lot of recognizable faces in the guest cast. And so yeah. So this is going to be a bit of a diversion from the norm. And then if we need to, there's always what's it's called, Merengue's Dark Place or whatever.
Oh, dark
There's
place, dark place, dark
there's
place.
Dark Place, which I still don't think I've ever
Snuff
seen.
box.
There's Snuff Box. We can always wash the.
You haven't seen Garth Marenghi?
I know.
Oh, we should do Garth Marenghi or well, we can talk about this off pod. Okay, well, this has been fun. Thank you for listening to season 12 of Onesies, where we just finished watching Crashing in 2016. See you next week when we start World of Giants from 1959. Andrew, see you in Television Land.
You in television land, Emily.